Yeah, just talking about the NFL draft, the underrated part here is we debate all of these trades. Kyler Murray, today's immaculate. The vibes are great. Does that mean they're getting Harrison Jr., or what are you doing there? It'd be funny if 3, 4, and 5 stayed put and we didn't have all this massive trade-in, trade-out stuff. We don't talk enough, I think, about the back end of the draft.
No, we do not.
We love the top end. It's filled with some of the same teams until they can break their... Like Chicago, I heard this on the ESPN show before, and I thought it was a good point. Doesn't Chicago feel like they finally have got their S together? I mean, I don't agree with the coach they kept, but everything else, like they've got targets, they've got weapons, they've got defensive guys. Feels like, and I like Caleb, they've kind of figured some stuff out. But maybe you don't give them that benefit until you see it.
We're also putting the cart a little bit in front of the horse there because we got to see what they have never had a franchise quarterback.
Well, they got one today.
Ever. Do they?
Today, yeah.
Are we sure of that?
You're damn right.
We're gambling on that.
Oh, yeah.
The franchise quarterback.
It's a minus 8,000 in my mind.
Lock it in.
Lock it in.
Lock of the day. Caleb's going to be a stud.
He only killed everybody he played in college. No big deal. Dropping 50 points a game.
He went 7-5.
He went 7-5.
He went 7-5.
Yesterday, you said the defense was awful, but he went 7-5.
He went 7-5.
Did you not stand next to me down at Autzen Stadium on the field, Dirt, and literally we're sitting there watching Caleb Williams, and we're like, damn, dude. Like, even though their team's down, the talent
he was a stud
obvious.
in college. You know who else was a stud in college? Marcus Mariota.
Caleb was better.
That's fair.
Oh, okay.
Caleb was better.
Okay.
Sorry.
They each won a Heisman. One went to a national championship.
Caleb was better.
Okay.
Sorry.
You know who else won a Heisman Trophy?
Yeah.
Kyler Murray. How you feeling about him right now?
He signed a massive extension.
He did.
Get to the point where you signed an extension means you did something right.
Are we sure about that?
Hey, he took the Cardinals to the playoffs. Cardinals are an awful organization.
Did he take him or did Colt McCoy take him? Let's give Colt McCoy credit for that. I think it was Cliff Kingsbury. Give Cliff Kingsbury credit for that.
Yeah, right.
Baker Mayfield also won a Heisman in Lincoln Riley's offense. How's that working out? I mean, last year it was good.
Look,
but
you don't want to root for Caleb Williams. I get it.
I mean, look, he's
heard you loud
got
and proud.
pink fingernails, okay?
Oh, how
I'm
dare
anti-Caleb. I have a mustache that will not allow me to root for Caleb Williams. No, the Chicago thing's funny. Like, we're all just assuming that this is a lock and that he's a can't-miss prospect and that Chicago is going to be fine. And I have seen drafts in my life, and can't-miss prospects are not can't-miss prospects.
I hear what you're saying. I mean in the general sense of the trade they made last year was pretty smart.
That was a smart trade.
And they got DJ Moore out of that.
Yes.
They picked up Keenan Allen. And
they're only going to go as far as Caleb can take them.
Well, the coach matters too here.
Sure, and I don't think they brought the right guy back.
I tend to agree with that part. But I'm saying how they're being run feels a little more responsible.
I'll give them that. And
Can we at least just agree on that?
They had a stadium unveiling yesterday, and they opened with a prayer, and everybody got pissed in Chicago because they were thanking the Lord for tax donations that the citizens are going to have to pay for a new stadium.
Well, the funny thing about that in Chicago, you're right, they had a prayer. Shane Reardon, who is a executive producer at 670, he's really good at his job. He noted that right before the prayer, they played the song Cake by the Ocean, which is basically smacking cheeks right in front of the ocean.
Thank you, Lord, for these tax dollars.
Cake by the ocean floor. And it's like, well, right before the prayer? Okay. Logical. Makes sense.
I mean, last year was a really smart trade. I've given them a ton of credit for that. Bryce Young was not worthy of a number 1 overall pick, and it panned out perfectly for them. I have to see Caleb do it in the NFL before I say the Bears are going to be great.
Totally fine. I don't even know if they'll be great. I'm just saying they don't feel like the dumb, laughable Bears. They feel like at least they understand what's happening around them.
Sure. And if Caleb has a really rough rookie year, which I don't know if it'll happen or not, nobody has any clue, we're right back to where we were a year from now.
Hold this for the season. He will not have a rough rookie year.
Okay, mark that
But
down.
the first game he throws 3 picks, Dirt will let me know about
you bet
that.
your ass I will. You bet your ass I will.
We're going to go to Will Birchfield coming up here in Detroit. Kansas City's going to end up winning the draft, aren't they? They're going to get the receiver that didn't get quite the same amount of love as the top 3 guys, and it's going to fit perfectly with Mahomes, or they're going to get the stud cornerback that somehow Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to fall to him at 32. Like, something's going to happen where Kansas City is going to win this draft somehow. We never talk about the back end. The teams that were so good, they're not picking at the top. And they haven't for quite some time unless they've traded up. We don't talk enough about the back end of the draft, I think, because those teams don't need quite as much. But what they do need is sometimes you lose a L'Jarius Sneed, and I'm like, yo, this could be a big deal. And then they draft the best cornerback in the first round that slipped and fell all the way to him, and they fit perfectly with their system.
I'm curious to see where they go. Their defense, I think, was the main reason they went on that run in the playoffs last year, which is remarkable to say. Mahomes is still one of one, and I'm not knocking him with that statement. They were so good defensively, and a lot of that has to do with their evaluation of talent and the guys that they've drafted in the first couple of rounds. And so do you add another piece there and get better? Do they go get another wide receiver? Travis Kelce is not getting any younger, doesn't look like the same player anymore.
He almost had 1,000 yards in his down year.
In his down year, but
900 and some yards.
If we're trending this way, that line's going to keep going that way. I don't see him all of a sudden resurging into a number one tight end in the NFL. I think he's on the back end of his career. So who do you go get as another weapon? I think they need another one of those. Their wide receiver position was a major concern last year. We thought it was going to be the liability that kept them from winning it all season long. And then their defense was good enough in the playoffs that it didn't matter. If Troy Franklin's there at the end of the first round, do you go make a play there? If another wide receiver is, I can't wait to see what Kansas City does. But the best part about being in that position is you can be picky. Like you don't have 15 different needs. You got one or two, and you take the best player available at either of those needs.
All I know is if Baltimore doesn't draft a receiver, they're probably going to win the draft. It's the only position they cannot identify.
Cannot do it.
I know they extended Bateman yesterday. Meh. They got rid of Hollywood Brown. Like, they just can't. Actually, to be fair, Zay Flowers was so amazing this year. Maybe they turned that around a little bit. They've been one of the best drafting teams in the NFL history.
Yes.
Ozzie Newsome into DaCosta. They haven't missed a beat. So Baltimore, Kansas City, these great teams tend to continue to hit in the draft.
I think you can for sure say, though, that 32 teams are going to be looking for a Puka Nacua in the 4th or 5th round at wide receiver. It's always funny.
There's going to be studs in these rounds, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
But after those seasons, like a Puka had this last year, you always see draft rooms trying to find that next diamond in the rough at that position. It's pretty fascinating.